Eric Thomas. Once you get comfortable getting uncomfortable and finding satisfaction in the challenge, the way you think begins to shift too. Your mind is your strongest muscle, and when your mind accepts the challenge, you can start to wake up with that drive. You can begin to see yourself differently and know that you've got you. Your mind doesn't dream what it cannot achieve. When you decide that you want to be the elite of the elite, you start to act like the elite of the elite with a fuel that comes from within. Eric Thomas.
What up, everybody? It's Darren and Jessica coming at you from Next Level.
Good vibes only.
First off, we just want to start with some gratitude and thanking everybody for being here, that you are giving us the gift of time by showing up and listening to and being curious, actually, about what Jess and I have to share. So thank you for that, number one.
We appreciate it.
And at the end of this conversation, we will have a couple questions for you. If you want to stick around for that length, we'd appreciate it, and see how these questions might be able to help you, and you get to answer these things in your life and seeing what you want to do with them.
And we will also share some links with you that we will talk about a little later at the end of the podcast for you to get some good heroic philosopher's notes.
Definitely a good return on that investment.
Yeah. So today we want to break down the quote, but we want to tell you what we're talking about. So we are talking about the trail always teaches you something. Darren just did an amazing podcast called Becoming Through the Challenge. So Meditation, yes. Did a meditation, but I want to correlate it to this podcast. It really, really connects beautifully, the Becoming Through the Challenge meditation and the podcast we're doing right now about the trail always teaches you something actually mirrors each other. And as you can see, if you're watching the podcast right now, we have our Ragnar captain's hats on because we just finished a Ragnar Ultra Trail,
South Cascades, Oregon,
at the Willamette Resorts or Pass Ski Resort.
Willamette Pass Ski Resort, I think.
In Oregon, and they were amazing.
Yeah, Ragnar always does a great job. So we definitely want to shout out to everybody, that the race director, that the Ragnar does a great job. We've never been disappointed. We've done 3 events, and every one of them have been amazing.
And the owner of the property at the resort was absolutely amazing too.
The owner of the bar, not that we drank, but we were up there watching the World Cup, and they were having some issues with their tap. But she had such a smile and was so gracious to everybody. And I mean, just it's hats off when you see somebody lead with kindness.
Yeah, yeah.
So I just wanted to call that out.
It's a good call out. So we're going to talk about just that challenge, that trail, your mountain, and kind of breaking down that quote first, because we're going to talk about our experience, because we love talking and sharing about our events and what we learn about each other and reflect on it. But we also want you to reflect on a challenge, a barrier, roadblock in your life. Darren, like I said, did a great job of meditation. You can relate it to decision you had to make, a tough conversation, a presentation, or a physical event. So we're going to talk about that physical piece of it, yes, in correlation to what we did, but we are also going to talk about that mental, the mindset piece of it, which is the biggest part of it all. So do you want to break down that quote? You picked that quote out today that you liked, but do you want to break it down? I don't have the quote in front of me,
but why don't you kind of share with me a little bit? And I did pick it out. I know it's all about the challenge and Eric Thomas, right? Is that who Eric Thomas,
Eric
PhD?
Thomas,
Go ahead.
Just about just getting uncomfortable, right? I know that doesn't sound great. And if we cringe at some of these phrases, then I think that's a great time to stop, pause, and reflect of like, why am I cringing when someone tells me hey, your growth comes from being uncomfortable? Mm-hmm. If you're cringing about that, that's a great moment to journal and reflect, because that means there's some resistance there. And it's always good to look at that resistance and say, why is that something that I'm feeling crunchy about? So just thinking of that, if that's feeling crunchy for you, just sit down and pause and reflect on why that is. And it's your journey, right? This is your trail. This is your mountain. This is your journey. And this quote talks about that your mindset is your strongest muscle. And we're talking about that physicality, that physical piece of the things that we do. But without that mental fortitude, it's way more challenging. And so we started off the podcast today with gratitude, and that's something that Darren and I notice when we come to a challenging event. We use our gratitude to help us get through it, and it doesn't seem so bad. And it's not always easy to find it, but you can find teeny tiny little things, and then all of a sudden you see more, and you see more, and you see more, and then you become, that an influence of others at that point in time too. So this quote is talking about those things. It's talking about, wake up with that drive, begin to see yourself differently. If you want to achieve something, then make sure that you're working towards achieving that, being the elite of the elite. Or if you want to just complete something, it's the same thing. Do you want to cross that finish line? Because we know that there's so much more to just crossing the finish line with the preparation and during any action event or anything that you're preparing for. And then the ending part of it. And then there's the after part of it too.
Yeah. I mean, all that stuff, it goes into life. And again, that's the push of the way we grow is being uncomfortable, right? It's hard to grow if you're comfortable. So that's a big piece of that. And then again, thinking about how you want to show up to these things. What is that outcome? What is it you're striving for? And are you doing the work to get the outcome that you want, right? Mm-hmm. And again, we don't have control of that, of always getting the outcome that we want. Although that being said, we get to look at our training practice and see how that goes. And like an event like Ragnar, signing up for something that's going to be challenging. We already know it's going to be challenging, running 117 miles, split up by 4 teams, 4 people. And then the elevation and everything else. And when you sign up for this, you don't think about like it could be bad weather or anything. You're just thinking about the challenge at that moment when you sign up, and then going out there and doing the training. And then when you get to the event, and all of a sudden things start to change. But the cool thing about this, what we're going to share, and this is what's awesome, I think, hopefully Jessica and I can, maybe some of the stuff that we do can help motivate some of you that are out there to do your own challenging thing, as we were motivated and inspired by the individuals that we're going to talk about today that showed up to this event. We were 24 people strong coming from CoreFit. 3 of the individuals were friends. Jessica's friend Eric, and then my friend Jake and his wife Shay joined us on this event as well. But going through that process, we had a lot of individuals there as well, taking on their first Ragnar.
Yep. And like Darren said, you sign up for something that's hard, and then you discover that it's even harder. You can train and you can train and you can train, and you can attempt to put yourself in the elements, and you can attempt to mimic an elevation. You can attempt to do all that, but it's never going to be exactly the same as the moment when they're like, go. So, and that's with life, right? You're standing up on a big stage, and you've prepared so much, and you get up there, and there's different elements. There's lighting, there's people, there's sound, there's so many things that you will need to adjust to and appreciate, right? To have that appreciation of, there's somebody speaking, or there's a loud sound happening, or the lights aren't working, or the microphone's not working, like finding that blessing in it. So if you want to be it, then you need to start acting like it. And so that's part of, wrapping up the quote in itself, kind of what Eric Thomas talked about. And so let's just kind of open it up a little bit of like sharing the elements of what we knew the Ragnar was going to be. Like, what did we know?
It's running up a mountain.
Running up a mountain. Yeah.
We knew there's going to be elevation at the beginning, at the start line, that you're basically running uphill.
Yeah. And that's like life, right? Sometimes you're just running uphill. There's no warm up. I mean, you're warming up, but it's really different when you, out of the gate, you're just going straight up. That's where you're getting most of your elevation. And all 6 of the runs that we did. Yeah. So 26,000 feet of elevation shared between 4 people. And that's the ultra. There's also the standard, which is the 8.
The cool thing about this, there was a big weather shift that they sent a message out before the event saying, hey, looks like it's going to be colder temperatures, lows in the 30s, highs in the 50s, potential snow. And we did the ultra, and there's 15 teams that showed up for the ultra. And I would like to represent CoreFit because 4 of those teams of the 15 were from CoreFit.
Well, 15 of the teams actually completed it.
Right.
Finished it. Yeah.
That's
so
what I'm
4
saying.
of the 15, that's pretty
There's a lot
pretty
that
cool.
didn't show up, and a lot of teams that did not finish the event. So that's, again, just the hats off to the training and everything that we do at CoreFit. that we represented well and our teams represented well. We took first or second in different categories, which is number one, super awesome of everybody being able to do. And then coming into like what we know, we knew we were signing up for this challenge that we're going to be running up a mountain. The first, every single one was 600 feet of elevation for the loop 1. Loop 2 was 1,300 feet of elevation, and loop 3 was 1,600 feet of elevation. And all of that was in the very beginning of the course. Yeah. Loop 1 was the first mile and a half. Loop 2 was a mile and a half. And then loop 3 was in 2 miles.
The elevation.
Of the elevation gain, getting that 1,600 feet of elevation gain.
But each loop had a different
course
and length. And one was averaging about a 3, one was averaging about 5, and one is averaging about 7. And you do that twice. And so you're running, we knew that we would, because we've done 2 other ones, we knew that we'd be running about every 4 hours after we finished our run. So it took us 31 hours to finish. Yeah. The 117 miles that was shared between our teams, or our team of 4. And so we knew that there was going to at least be one moment that we're going to be running in the dark. And the way the timing was is we ran our longest 7 mile, the hardest one, in the middle of the night around 12:31 a.m. Yeah. Which was cool. And it was raining, and we were wearing ponchos, and we were wet, and we went through like 6 changes of clothing. You really couldn't warm up completely. There was an indoor place we were able to go, but those are some of the things that we knew. But then as you do the event, there's so much of the unknown. And I want to relate that back to life in itself too, is that we can't control every aspect of everything, but what can we control? And we controlled what we could by preparing for our clothes and training physically. And we train mentally too, so that we are, making sure we flip the switch quickly. We're being positive. We're going to come into this with gratitude. Like, we have our tools. And when things start getting challenging, I'm like, okay, I'm going to look around. These trees are great. There was beautiful moss all over the trees. I mean, that keeps my mind off of the pain and the suffering of my quads burning up.
Yeah, I think we might jump into some of that with our questions that we're going to ask each other on some of those things. But one of the things that we want to bring into this is allowing ourselves to slow down long enough just to really process what we just did. And that's what we wanted to share, where we wanted to be able to reflect on our experience and the wisdom and everything that we were able to absorb, and also witness from not just ourselves, but witness from the individuals that joined us on this journey. Mm-hmm. And we know that we sign up for these physical events, right? But these events are just not physical. They definitely expose our mindset, right? They reveal our habits. They uncover our fears. They strengthen our confidence and stuff, especially when you complete certain things. And at the end, that's where you get to reflect. And then they remind us what we're capable of. And then we know that by completing something like this, what else can we do? Mm-hmm. And that's what I would say that I got to witness of a few individuals that joined us. They did the 8-person team. And there was a few individuals, the highest level, shout out to Cindy John, level 72. 72 years of age, signing up. I would say probably not knowing what she was getting herself into, right? Everybody was like, hey, you want to go do this race? And she's an Ironman. Yeah. She finished at, I think, 70. She was level 70 when she completed one of her Ironmans. But she's in for the challenge, right? And she focuses on the mindset. Her mindset sometimes gets the best of her, but yet she shows up and she takes on the challenge. She is definitely one that represents that quote that we shared about getting outside of her comfort zone.
Absolutely.
She's a retired nurse, and so she's been in that battle, on the floor, taking care of individuals and sharing. She's being a caregiver, and now she's going out just living her best life. And what was super cool is also her husband Roland showing up and being there, helping us set up camp, being there to support her along the way, helping us keep our hut warm when we could, getting food together and everything like that. So definitely shout out to him being there as well. But that's where I think kind of going into this, right? Thinking about the beginning when we first showed up. When we first showed up, the drive over there. Yeah. It's a long drive, 6-7 hour drive. And driving over there with our buddies Jake and Shay and having a good conversation, being excited about what we're going to be getting into. Mm-hmm. And then we get to our campsite, set up camp, right? We're excited. It's a nice day. Again, everything's very...
No raining at that point.
No raining at that time. Yeah. It's, again, very fortunate in this. And we can look at the good and the bad. the awesome things, it wasn't raining when we set up camp, because that would have been miserable, right? To set up camp in the rain and get totally soaked in our clothes. So I want to give gratitude for that part of when it was sunny and not raining.
Yeah.
That the appreciation for that, not just look at the time when it was raining.
Yeah. No, we were very grateful for not setting up. We were like, can we not set up in the rain? It'd be so great. As you're kind of starting, shared some of those different things of the uncertainty and doubt, resilience, courage, perspective, and eventually gratitude. And we your mind ebbs and flows as you go, and you catch yourself in these moments of exhaustion. We know how hard it is to show up as your best self when you're exhausted, sleep deprived. You're maybe anxious, emotional. I mean, I got emotional out there watching other people get emotional. I was just like so proud.
You got emotional by other people getting emotional.
Yeah. I mean, just so proud of just the resilience people have when they're
I'm not crying, you're crying.
Yeah. When you're experiencing these amazing things. And part of it, and I'll talk a little bit about this later too, but I want to make sure that I bring up when we're able to get out of our own head, how and focus our attention on supporting and loving somebody else and encouraging them, that is a game changer right there. Like when we internalize and we are in our own thing and we're saying, we're starting to have a conversation and self-talk, the best way for me to get out of that is then to refocus on somebody else and see them and hear them and encourage them and cheer them on. And that's for me, that the gratitude and being able to move away from me, because I feel like I just start getting selfish and internalizing like, it's easy to go into a dark hole at that point in time. So, some of those things that we talk about, though, just don't come from comfort itself. And so we have some ideas that we wanted to just share through some of the authors, philosophers, and people that we picked out, just to share some of the beliefs and philosophies that they have that really align with, the trail and the mountain and your journey.
Yeah. And this will also be part of what we'll share at the end of a link for Philosopher's Notes, that all these individuals are these books that they've written. A lot of these quotes that we're going to be talking about come from their books. And this is in the Philosopher's Notes, where you can review these and listen to these books, where Brian Johnson reads these books and shares the top 5 ideas that he takes. And then you can, if this book really speaks to you, then you can go out there and purchase that book. He also relates other books and other authors that are sharing similar ideas. And so that's really what makes a huger impact, that it reinstates or adds weight to what this individual is saying, because other individuals are seeing the same thing and they're sharing their own views on this. So, and that's one of the things that I would say that also comes from an event like this, when you do sign up for something challenging, is that you're going to find something else about yourself that you might not have found out had you not done this challenge, right?
Yeah.
I always like to say, whether it's at the gym or even said to a couple people on the mountain that we were working on encouraging as we're climbing up, is like, hey, this is a feeling you can't buy at Amazon.
Yeah.
You can't go to Costco and get this off the shelf. You get to earn this feeling. And that's where, again, when I say you get to, or going to this event, we didn't have to sign up for this event. And this is where we're kind of leading in with gratitude, right? Gratitude every time of these events that we get to do. You know, we don't have to do any of this stuff, but yet we sign up because it brings us, challenges bring us joy.
They do bring us joy at some point. I mean, you're not going to get the same growth opportunity as curling up in front of the TV watching a movie versus going and climbing a mountain.
Different, right?
You're going to learn something different.
Exactly.
And maybe a little deeper. So let's start with Ryan Holiday.
Bring it up.
is a Stoic philosopher, and he reminds us of obstacles are the way. We've talked about Ryan Holiday before. We just want to, interlace a lot of the things that we share and talk about as they really support each other. And they're all really related. These are beautiful ideas, that the challenge isn't preventing our growth, it's creating it. So if we look as a challenge is taking away from our experience or preventing us from doing something, then maybe shift that mindset of it's actually creating it. It's creating my growth. The challenge is creating my growth. And so every difficult climb becomes an opportunity to practice that courage, patience, and resilience. So that's what Ryan talks about, is obstacle is the way.
Yeah. And that mountain was the obstacle, right? And we
For
got to
us,
do it 6 times.
physically.
And then other obstacles that came up that we weren't planning for was the rain and how wet, the wind,
Snow.
right? Snow, like all these other things that thrown into it. And those are sometimes hard to prepare for. These aren't things you can train for necessarily when the weather's all nice and sunny when you're training here at home. And then you go into an event, all of a sudden Mother Nature decides to throw another challenge at you.
Yeah.
And that's where you just either complain about it, which does nothing, right? You're not going to change it. It just makes it more miserable. Or you smile and you say, bring it on.
Yeah.
One of the things that I always like to start our races with that has been a tradition for me anyways, sharing with other individuals that want to listen, is I love to listen to the foreword from the book, Embrace the Suck. And it's David Goggins talking about wishing for bad weather, wishing that it was the most challenging event. He's talking to a guy that's going into buds training and not asking for something easy. Because if you get through this, you can get through anything. And that's what this is all about. The next person we're going to bring up is Dr. Kelly McGonigal. And she teaches that our mindset about our stress changes how we experience it. When we see stress as evidence that we are capable, that we care deeply about something meaningful, it becomes fuel instead of the enemy. Right? And so that's the part I think when we look at this mountain or the weather, that instead of letting it stress us out or it's cold or any of these other things, like, you know what? It is what it is. We're going to get out there and do it anyways. And one of the things that works for me, I always just lean in on our military. Our military are out there doing uncomfortable things and, things that we can't even imagine. And I would say sometimes maybe our police force or those other individuals that are in this line of duty doing things, our electrical linemen, and women and men and all individuals that are out there taking care of us when we need it.
A lot of people taking risks.
Right? And being out there in challenging times that they don't always get to be control over. And so those are the individuals I like to lean on to get me through something that I think is challenging in that moment.
Yeah.
Which is probably not even anything close to what they're going through.
And when you complete anything, whether it's small, medium, large, tiny, you have now given yourself evidence.
Yeah.
You now have evidence. And I want to just ask you to please remember your evidence because that is who you are. That is who your identity is. Don't forget all the amazing things that you're doing, whether it's small, medium, or large, or at any point in your life where you do something that's challenging for you, then that becomes evidence that you can do more. Even if you were like, okay, I didn't meet my goal. I got one thing done and I wanted to do 2. It's like, it doesn't mean you're not going to get that next time.
Right.
So you keep trying at it. So
hold on. And the evidence really comes from also the gentleman named Benjamin Hardy who wrote the book, Between the Gap and the Gain. And that's where he talks about that. There's this belief that you have about yourself and then you have a decision by what action you're taking, and that is your evidence. So whatever the belief is, you can look into it, whether it's a negative or positive thing, based off that evidence of how you're showing up.
Yeah.
But going out and doing something challenging like this and getting through it, there's your evidence of, hey, I am capable of doing hard things.
That's right.
Right? Which is then going to allow you to go out and do other things that are more challenging or maybe not as challenging.
Yeah.
To be able to reflect on something that you did that was way harder than what maybe the challenge that's in front of you right now.
And it's okay to do things that are fun too and not challenging.
Yeah, whatever that is.
Be present in whatever you would like to do. So Viktor Frankl talks about circumstances, that we do not have control of our circumstances, but we do have control of the response to that circumstance. So meaning is often discovered in adversity rather than comfort. And we did a previous podcast on Viktor Frankl, the meaning of...
In January.
Yeah, the meaning of life.
Man's Search for Meaning.
Man's Search for Meaning,
The book.
which is about the meaning of life, basically. But and so just again, we knew what we were getting to a level we didn't know completely, and we responded.
Yeah.
So
and again, it's what you decide to make of it, right?
Yeah.
There's, I don't know, maybe 1,000 people there, or I don't know how many people were there. Somewhere around there, let's just say.
I'd have to math.
And I'm sure a lot of people had different views.
Yeah,
what they were experiencing.
Yeah,
like I said, a lot of teams didn't finish.
Yeah.
And so some got over, let that challenge kind of stand in front of them a little bit. But here we're going into Phil Stutz. And this is a big part we're kind of leaning into this, where Phil Stutz talks about part X, that internal resistance that whispers we should quit. stay comfortable, or avoid discomfort. Every time we move through that resistance, we build confidence that cannot be borrowed from anyone else. And that's where I think getting up that mountain, right? Getting out into the cold weather when it's raining and getting out of your warm bed. And that's what we did a couple times, right? We didn't want to get up at midnight. We wouldn't at home set our alarm and say, hey, let's go run. And we're going to go run at midnight. And hey, by the way, it's going to be raining. Yeah. And by the way, when we get to the top of the mountain, we're going to run up a mountain. And then it's going to be snowing at the top of the mountain. I mean, there's a video if you watch on our Instagram page. I got a video of Jessica running up with her headlamp on. She got her light on her chest and she got her headlamp on, and you just see the rain coming down. Yeah. And that's what we got to run in. Yeah. Right? I mean, how awesome is that to have that experience? Some might be like, oh, I wouldn't do that, but maybe you would. That's okay. Maybe in this moment, but maybe you would.
Well, just like we refuse to set our alarm at midnight and go running outside.
Yeah, I know. It's not something I would do at home for sure.
We refuse to train like that, so we understand if you're like, I'm not interested in running in the rain. But
I would only do it by this competition, this event.
So as far as Brian Johnson and Arate, he does also remind us that excellence isn't found in one heroic moment, and that it's found constantly, consistently, right? As you choose your best response, especially when conditions are far from ideal. Same kinds of philosophies here. I'm just encouraging for people to really realize like our circumstances are not always controllable, but we do have the response. What we do have control of is how we're responding to them, and how are we going to, experience it, and how are we going to get evidence for the things that we're doing, and be able to reflect back on those through our courage and through the obstacles themselves. And so one thing every endurance event teaches is that resilience isn't built on race day. It's revealed on race day.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's huge. And that's where it comes into the training, getting up in the early mornings, setting that alarm clock when we'll go run with the Core Fit crew on a Friday morning, getting up at 5 in the morning. When it's cold, we definitely have done 14-degree temperatures. I think, again, our coldest was 7 degrees. And not necessarily training for an event. It's just that's what we were doing that day. Yeah. That was part of it. And then other times of deciding to run up the mountains. And we've had times where we ran up Mount Spokane, which was, I think, 6,000 feet of elevation gain that we did, 14 miles, right? When we've done that a few times, training for Ragnar, Mount Rainier. This event here, we went up Eiler Creek several times, going up the steepest part of that mountain to be prepared for this event. And those are the things of, what are you doing for preparation, right? This event is going to be challenging. And one thing that I've always learned, from my dad when we did a lot of dog training, I used to compete in the sport called Schutzhund, is that you want to prepare for everything on the field and not see it in the event, right? On competition day. Because that's the last, but you're not going to learn anything. You're going to learn what you're not prepared for on competition day when those things happen. And that's what is kind of nice. When those events do happen on the competition, then you need to bring that into your training so you can prepare for those things. You want to see everything in training. That way it doesn't shock you in the competition.
With what you have control of.
Yeah, with what you have control of.
And then learn from what you experienced, Yeah. All right. So as far as the challenges, the races, the climbing mountains, like we said, we're talking about literally climbing a mountain, but we want you to know that this can mean that you're having a difficult season at work. Maybe you're having a personal concern or issue. Maybe you're having a family event that is stressful, whatever your personal growth journey is itself. But I think one of the things that we do talk about a lot is that reflection. And we kind of started off this podcast about it's not always about the start. It's not about finishing. It's about the lessons learned that you have. All of it's wonderful. I mean, the preparation while you're doing it, after, and in the finish. But what we want to do is provide opportunities for you to have tools to reflect after you have completed a growth opportunity in your life. And we have some questions for you.
Yeah. And taking like what just Jessica said, whether it's at work or whether it's personal, whether it's in your relationship, and having a difficult conversation, instead of being mad about it, take a moment to stop and reflect. Like, how could I, if I can go back and redo that event, how would I do it differently so I wouldn't get the same negative outcome, right?
Yeah.
And that's what really life is can we do a retake and and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But if it does show up again, would I be able to handle that situation differently this next time, knowing that this time didn't work out for us?
Yep.
And so, do you want me to go to the first question?
Sure. We got 5 questions for you. We're just going to both give a quick answer, but we want you to pause the questions, maybe at least think about them or even write them down.
Yeah. So the first question, whether it's this challenge or any challenge that you've experienced yourself, the first question is, when during this challenge did I discover I was stronger than I thought I was?
You go first.
Oh, you want me to go first? Well, I'm asking you the question.
Oh, you are? Well, then I'll ask you back.
Yeah.
So, challenge that was stronger than I thought it was. I think like when my legs started just burning up, my quads themselves, I thought, oh man, like there was, doubt comes in, as you're like, oh man, this is really painful. Like I'm really, and then I realized, oh, we're going to have another pretty steep climb here coming up too, because it's not over. And I was thinking to myself, did you train hard enough for this? Like, were you doing enough elevation? And then that moment kind of where I flip it, where I'm like, one step at a time. And it was like, boof, boof, boof. And then I challenged myself just to maintain consistency and take each step at a time. And there, I think it's very normal to have doubt and to be like, oh my gosh, did I do enough for this? But the lovely part is you're like, I just can keep going. I can keep doing this. So part of that was, I was like, oh man, am I going to be able to do this without like just having to take a lot of breaks or pause? And I did. And I was like, oh, I'm physically wise, stronger, but I'm sure I'll have opportunity to answer more things with the mental piece of it.
Yeah. And for me, I would say, if I really look back, I already had the evidence that I'm strong and I'm capable from a Spartan race that I did that I really struggled with. And also I would say when we did Ragnar at Mount Rainier, the rain and the weather. So that didn't impact me on this.
Yeah.
I knew I was strong enough to handle this. Where I kind of really had to lean into was I've been battling this hamstring injury for three plus months, if not longer. And I wasn't able to train the way I'd wanted to prepare for this event.
Yeah.
And so going into this, where my strength really came into is allowing myself to run a slower pace.
Yeah.
To be able to be okay with not to show up and do the best that I could.
Yeah. Okay. Question number 2. What did this experience teach me about the relationship between my body and my mind? And when my body became tired, what stories was my mind telling me and which stories helped me keep moving forward?
Yeah. On this one here, I would say it was getting towards the end when we did the yellow loop, and it was pretty steep going up that part. And then the hardest part was yellow, there was a pretty steep downhill. And so that was kind of having a little bit of impact on my hamstring, but allowing myself just to, as I let Jessica lead, and allowing myself just to stay back, and she would get ahead of me a little bit. So I was like, oh, she's pulling away from me a little bit here and then. And every now and then I would give her a little, hey, just let's slow it down. And so that's when I think the strength came into me to check my own ego and to be able to call out to you to say, slow down. Let's hold up here or walk for a moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I answered some of that already in the question 1, as far as the stories I was telling myself. I think it's honest and important to share that we do have some, thoughts in our mind that are like, what the heck am I doing? Or, why am I doing this again? Or am I even ready for this? Those kind of things like that, where, like you said, we did Rainier and it was severe, weather out there. It was just constant, crazy lake. We had a lake outside our tent. But just that between that body and the mind, each time I do an event, that is always something that I really try to take something and grow from, and realize that the stories that we were creating in our head, they're not real stories. I mean, they're not the reality. Like I can create a story in my head and that becomes my reality because I think it's true. But what I love is that I can stop and pause and go, I don't have evidence of that. I that may not be the truth, you know? And so, like you said, you already had evidence that you're strong and that you have good endurance. And that's the part is reflecting back at the evidence that we've already, completed and we have to remind us how we are strong and that we can move forward. So
Leaning on to
that
that
helps
evidence.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that helps me.
Question 3 is, who helped carry, this is me, but let's just say helped carry you through this experience, and how did their encouragement change what you believed was possible?
Oh, for me, gosh. Well, I think, I just love the fact that I have Darren to do these events with me. I mean, High Rocks and Ragnar and Spartan and what I love about these High Rocks and as Ragnar is that we make it so we get to run together. We're on opposite teams actually. So we make it so that we get to run together because it's 2 teams of 4 if we're on opposite teams, and then we can run at the same time. And for me it's like the most it's a safe place for me. It's a safe place where I know that if I need something, that you'll provide it, and that if I also, want to process something while I'm out there, that you're going to help me process it. So I think I don't know if you're carrying me through it, but just your presence with me is something that just makes it so much more enjoyable. And I get to cross the finish line with you. I get to start with you. I get to go through the challenges with you. I get to be in the rain with you. We get to figure out, our things that work and don't work. I mean, imagine, you're doing these things with your spouse and it's not all cookies and cream, and my needs are different than yours. And like I said earlier, when you're exhausted, tired, and hungry, you're more challenged to show up as your best self. So we get to learn a little more about each other too. So, I love the encouragement. I love the calm presence, and I also love the opportunities to grow with you.
Yeah, I would say the same thing, that you are the person that helped carry me through this one as I asked you to set the pace for us at times, right? So that way I wouldn't push myself too hard and go out there and lead and push up the mountain and do certain things. I really want to be mindful of my hamstring. My goal was, we have 6 loops that we need to do, and it's not going to be, I can't win this at the beginning. And again, not that it's a competition. I'd say I couldn't complete it at the beginning, right? Yeah. I need to complete 1 loop at a time to get to that 6. And so to be able to have you lead the way, set the pace, knowing that there's times where you're faster in areas and there's other areas where I can catch up to you in certain areas where I can allow you to get ahead of me, but knowing that I can pick up the pace to meet you where you are. Yeah. So we're holding the pace, right?
Yeah.
And so that allowed me to preserve, I would say, my hamstring a little bit and not get into trouble. Mm-hmm. Next question.
So what are you most grateful for? Not just about crossing the finish line, but about everything the struggle taught you along the way.
As far as struggle, I wouldn't say, again, this race, I was pretty well prepared. I mean, with the Ragnar that we did in Rainier, the rain, everything, I mean, I was there for the team of 8. That's what really I'm most grateful for, is watching those individuals. Again, Cindy John, 72, a couple other individuals. I'm not going to go down everybody's name, but the way they showed up, the challenges, the some of the doubt, some of them thinking about not finishing, and then saying yes, like saying no, but then saying yes and going out there and finishing. Those are the things. I love these events when we had 24, like I said, 24 individuals show up. I like going to witness what they accomplish.
Yeah.
That's what is, I love about doing what we do, is when there's that many people going, and especially people that this is their first experience. I like being a witness to that.
I love being a witness to that. And for me, everything that's taught me about the struggle along the way is that it's about supporting each other. It's about encouraging each other. It's about friendship, and it's about connection, and it's about community. And any struggle that I had or have when I'm doing these types of things is like I said earlier, it's like if I'm out of my own head and I see everybody, I'm present and I see everybody, and then therefore then I can say, oh, how can I be supportive of my community here and see who may need support or who needs some help. I think it's just kind in just, even if someone doesn't need encouragement, but that we're just recognizing each other.
Yeah.
Like, nice job. Like, I mean, you could be an exceptional runner. And I think it's still important to acknowledge the effort you put in, what you accomplished, the training you did, all the way to somebody who might be struggling. And you are going to also celebrate and be grateful for their experience, and you want to encourage them. But I think that what gets me is when I'm out there too, it's about the beauty in the moss on the trees, like I said earlier, and all the different things. But it's also about the fact that I get to be outside of my own head, and I get to focus on someone else. And we've said that before, is like service of others and encouraging others is one way for you to get out of your own funk.
Yeah. And then and celebrating the individuals that didn't complete the event, because they did complete a portion of it.
Yeah, they did what they did for them.
And allowing themselves to kind of, again, check their egos or doing what's right for them and being satisfied and being okay with their decision to stop when they needed to.
Yeah, no one can
right?
make a decision for you.
That's the hard part. And that's why I just want to make sure those individuals as well celebrate themselves for what they did and look at what they did accomplish.
Yeah.
And again, this is not going to be the last mountain that you climb.
No.
There'll be other mountains that you
lots.
climbed. Every situation is different.
Yeah.
Every opportunity is a learning experience. And that's kind of what this next question is. If the challenge prepared me for something bigger in my life, what might that next challenge be? And who do I want to become as I pursue it?
Yeah.
And I think it's just, I always want to be grateful.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. I'm good with physical challenges. It's the other challenges that really I need to show up better for sometimes. Not the mental, I don't know what we're going at here, but as I'm working on creating my own business, that's the challenge for me right now, as being an entrepreneur. Those are things that how can I take these physical experiences and roll them over here into my professional side and what I want to do and what I want to create, and having that confidence in myself.
Absolutely. Because what works for you in one aspect of your life can actually be applied to something else.
Yeah, there's parallels.
And I think that's a good idea, is like breaking it down and make the comparisons. The one part of that for me is I was talking to Lori today, because we were talking about doing the Nashville High Rocks as a pair, female pair. And we were talking about the bigger things and the things that I want to learn for myself when I do these events, and the next challenge, and who I want to become as I pursue it. And I mentioned to her that I want to be more playful when it comes to competition. And that's a balance. I've been kind of in one place, and I'm slowly moving that pendulum, and I wanted to be more playful with it. And then I reminded myself that I was given like a mantra years ago that was called, it was basically be peacefully determined. So we coined our own little thing, and it said that the goal that we're going to have for this next High Rocks in Nashville is to be playfully determined.
Yeah.
So we want to have fun.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. You can be competitive and also have fun and kind. And so we thought, okay, let's be playfully determined. And so that's revealing that we are going to be doing the Nashville High Rocks in December.
Yeah, that's our next big event that we're signing up for. And that's, again, hopefully we can inspire some of you guys who are out there. Again, I'm level 56. Jessica just turned level 50. And it's not too late. And this is the big thing that I'm working on creating. This is part of my entrepreneurship. What I really want to grow as a business is this healthy aging. It's a thing. And to help individuals, guide individuals that as we level up in life, that it's not a death sentence, right? Is that the goal is to get to the highest level possible by living a fit life, working on your nutrition, keeping your movement, your memory, agility, cognition, all those things and above that you can see people are doing. And again, this is hats off to Cindy John, level 72, going out there and doing this race. But I want to leave you guys with here is that celebrate that finish, no matter wherever it is that you finished. Reflect on the lessons that you have learned from doing this event or any event that you sign up for and you complete. Take that time to really reflect, practice gratitude for both the struggle and the strength that is revealed to you during this event and the things that you did overcome.
Yep.
And then what is that next mountain? And Jessica just talked about that, signing up for High Rocks, Tennessee, Nashville. That's where we'll be.
And the finish line is never the end
That's right.
of the story.
No.
So what is your next mountain? What is it going to be? Think about it, reflect on it, use those reflection questions to help you process and reflect on your most recent event, challenge, growth opportunity,
Yeah.
and learn from yourself.
And if you're curious, check out the Philosopher's Notes. Check out the link that we have to the Philosopher's Notes. Again, I think it's totally 100% return on your investment on this. It's $99, one-time fee, lifetime. Have access to over 750 books. And that's going to help you take your life to the next level.
With good vibes only.
Peace. Congratulations. And I want to say thank you for sticking with us and listening to this topic. But I want to leave you for some actionable steps that you can take immediately after listening to this podcast or once you get into your home if you are driving. I want you to think about writing down your answers to these focused questions. What is that one thing that you can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? And then I'd like for you to schedule a time for that primary task that you just wrote down. So those are your actionable steps.